pull the column off, and then crack it open here once it's shortened, and that way it's easier to handle the machine to pull the drum out. So it's just really for my own laziness and convenience that I tear the column off first. Otherwise it teeters and hits me in the head, and I hate that part of it.
So the rail system is going to somehow fight superficially?
Yeah, that's how the rack systems work, is that these lock into it and everything is mounted onto it.
I drove mine with the winch, so it lifts it, if I can lift it up out of the water pot, then we take the pot out, and then take the column off, and leave it just the valve body out, 6 of it. I don't know if that's the hottest setup that it seems to be working out for me. I got mine all the way down in there.
Yeah, the rack systems that are coming out have everything angled off the side, so that's just a smaller pot to harvest. They're also using a 10-inch instead of a 12-inch lid, so the weight of the pot's down to about 25 pounds instead of 45.
Are you pouring or scraping?
I scrape.
You scrape? Are they going to ever put the spigots on these things so we can pour if we want it?
Not with the way that they're going about it now. You have to be able to harvest a stiffened oil. Most of what I do, pulling down cap 16 right now, will give me something that's workable like a taffy.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would ever pass through a spigot. It would be, you'd have to add a bunch of butane to run it out, and then that's illegal by its definition. You can't have it in there. So,
well, some people are doing the pouring method. I know that.
yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad.
Nothing I work with.
It's a little more dangerous because you got gas.
It's just categorically idiotic. You're cracking open a full chamber of butane, exposing it to atmosphere, pouring it, and hoping to God that nobody farts a spark. I'm sorry, that's just fucking stupid.
I was worried about that.
There's no good reason to do that. You may come up with an amazing
How
product.
much gas are we getting off the taffy section when we're pulling it off that?
Very little. I think we could lose as much as a third of a can into a well-saturated vat. If it pulls down well, it'll be pretty stiff where there's very little butane to off gas at all. So really right now it's just being greedy, trying to recover as much of it as we can. What I can do is also shut the pumps down and just get it time to off gas.
Stop gas and build up again.
Go grab lunch, grab whatever, get my next column ready, come out, pump for 5 minutes, and it'll make up for 20 or 30 minutes of off gassing and be done.
Yeah.
Not put wear and tear on the pumps, having to constantly draw under vacuum, not having anything for them to draw across.
That's what I did on the last pump. We shut that with no pressure. I think so, yeah. Or maybe not.
So it's only vacuum.
It's still vacuum because it's got butane in the tank. So this minus 16. Yeah, that is a minus 16. Hasn't gone down to 20 yet.
Earplugs.
I have them. It's just a little hard to work when I have them in the crowd out here. Otherwise I usually have them in, or,
Yeah.
headphones in general to cover the noise. So pull the column off, it makes the entire machine a little bit easier to crack open. Let me grab a paper towel. I've got a little bit of condensation that's dripped down on the tank. I don't want to pull it in on the back.
Right.
A canister right here to set this on.
Oh, he just opened that. He just let the atmosphere back into the chain.
Yeah.
No, that's that valve right there, right there.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's no one. So
He was under vacuum. We sucked all the butane out. So set it on that.
Any immediately draw it away and tip it away from the pot. Because it does have water, it will drip down. And it's just that much more of a pain in the ass to have to reclaim, or not reclaim, but purge from your sheets. Just that much more time that it takes, and any dirt or pollutants that are on the outside of this machine would then have gotten into your oil. So. On the upside, if you keep everything relatively well cleaned and wiped down every day or two,
I smell that smell.
you're not going to get much in it. Alright, so at this point, that pot is ready to harvest. That Carla was working on the other day, I was trying to get it to change texture. It's just not wanting to smooth out, so it's fully purged, well past. Texturally, it's not as pretty as I would like, but it still has a good smell, and it'll shatter and hold relatively stable at room temp. It's just not pretty. Which,
Is that because of the product?
yeah, it's the actual material, I'm pretty sure, because I processed for this grower already, and I didn't have the same issues with his other plants. So far, this is just strain specific. Bars wrapped over it to crack it open the first time. You get hash filled into it, and all of those little, they're a nightmare. When they have to be replaced, they're $300. A 1-inch valve, 75.
Yeah, see, I couldn't see upgrading to a bigger system and not using the valve system to the Mark III.
The scaling wasn't necessary to scale up. On the Mark III, the pot size of the down stems are relatively small. On the Mark IV, they literally scaled up the pot, they scaled up the down size. Well, it's just not as necessary because you don't see the flow going through it that you would need to have the huge lines for.
That's where I'm always a big fill. Them things are always falling off on me, damn it.
Practice.
Yeah, I know, I don't need more. I got the same habit right there. The wrist thing and the... I take my mom for the shop.
Where do they have a cash and carry in Medford?
Right there by Costco. I was just looking at those spatulas going down. I should have picked up 2 of those yesterday. I was there.
Oh, please, yeah,
I
that's
had
why we
one
have
in my hand and I set it back down.
There is a little restaurant supply, not full-blown restaurant, but like a gourmet kitchen shop in Grants Pass.
Yeah.
As much as it has. There were huge amounts of little bubbles in it that we've been trying to purge just to get it out of the texture. At this point, you can see that there's still just a few here and there, but for the most part they've all pulled out. It's just that not quite beautiful smooth. We could probably get it to smooth out if we left it in the oven and just turned the oven off and allowed it to rest from 100 degrees down. 9 times out of 10 it'll settle. Sometimes it still won't. It's just that. That's what it's going to be. That's what it is. Get used to it, get over it, and move on. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure that's what this is. So, it is demo material. At this point, I'm perfectly happy sending it out. It will go through testing. It will come up perfectly fine. There is
have
no
that super
butane.
pretty color. That's not bad at all, but I mean...
No, but it could be lighter. It could have been scraped down thinner, so it wouldn't have bubbled as much. There were handling procedures that we could have done in playing with it that if we wouldn't have been doing a class or a demo for somebody, we may have taken the time to do. Would have ended up on one sheet and it would have scraped out a great deal more. The bigger oven, you lay the sheet out right onto it in the tray and then you slide the entire tray and it takes an extra 5 minutes to start to heat. If you're already working in a decent lab that's heated and, you know, it's really not a big deal to let it sit at 70. What I end up doing is I scrape and fill and just leave them sit, and like right here I would set them in and leave them at about 100 degrees and just let them off gas naturally for as long as they can. After about an hour, hour and a half, no matter how long they've been in there, they're all at roughly the same spot. They've off gassed as much as they naturally can at 100 degrees.
All heated up.
They're waiting for you. and then when you crank that vacuum on, they all bubble at the same rate. So you really have to give it that hour and a half for it to come to ambient, to come to your declared ambient. But once they get to that point, they all work in the same direction.
Cool.
So you don't end up with this one this tall.
This one, that one, that tall. Because that's
as long as you scrape them evenly. You leave a bulge like that in the middle of one,
have a bulge.
It's going to climb. Yeah, you get a mountain in the middle, and it's not fun.
Even in the chambers, I had them up, and all of a sudden you look down, and you go, ah!
I looked up one day and it touched top, sides, and bottom, but thankfully it had just drawn most of the butane out, so when it touched, it had stabilized. It cracked like a, like a chalk egg is the best way I can describe it. I mean, it just, like a meringue.
It just
It cracked open. Yeah, it just kind of pulverized. We pulled it open and pulled it out in chunks. The second it touched you, it immediately melted. You know, I mean, it stabilized as an open matrix. It was really wild. Flew long.
I mean, under vacuum is the...
Nothing is under vacuum. We're breaking the vacuum and pump butane into it. We pull the vacuum to get rid of all atmosphere and to check to make sure we're holding pressure.
Turn that on,
we started removing the vacuum and now we're under positive pressure. So now that we're hitting positive pressure,
butane's just climbing through the column right now and you're waiting for overflow.
sounds pretty walking in with your time so you know how much you need to do. Try to learn where you're opening your rubber to so that if you do just do it partial, you don't flood later opening it further. Or open it wide open every time and learn to chase it with that particular technique or that particular option. It makes a difference in how much it'll flood, because if it's passing at a faster speed, you really don't want it to be flooding you out because you thought it was going to go longer than it did. Yep, we gave it 80 to fill. We're hitting the 2-minute mark now, so anywhere in the next 20 seconds I can quit out and we've only done one complete turnover of butane. And then like right now, just to make sure we get a good penetrating soak, I'm going to go ahead and overfill the column by adding pressure to it. So now we're stopping at just over 30 psi. It's been trapped off for about a minute now. And we did a total of 80 seconds to fill it, and then about 60 seconds worth of turnover. So we did most of it. There's still like that much butane that was still down here. We didn't do a complete exchange, but pretty close.
You think it's cold outside, the pressure is staying below?
It's because of how much cold we dumped in here, it's chilling the water that I have in here quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all the way to the walls. We're only getting a little bit of heat, so. That I'm only running one pump right now to make it easier to yellow. As soon as I turn on the other pump, you'll see it off-gassing a lot quicker here. See what I mean? Pick up crap, like an industrial grease trap in a restaurant. All the oil gets caught on the water. All this oil gets caught in the butane vapor, and it's micronized, but it's still there, and it builds up, yeah. And that accumulation is really where the trouble comes in, is it builds up badly.
Well, you like that? Can that work well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put over here.
It runs into the coil, out of the coil, and then from this straight line goes into the filter, spins to two pumps. From two pumps, they go out and they tee back together to a oil line.
Yeah.
So if you put your hand here, you'll feel a little bit of heat.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it's over here, it's super chilled to 70 below zero.
So that just vaporizes it more, catches anything in here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Any pollutants are still caught, but then any liquid that makes it through gets vaporized off. And it gives it a ping pong space for the hash oil to stick to as it bounces through the wall.
Okay, got it. You're not running cryos at any time now.
What's that?
You're not running cryo temperatures, like doing coils for dry alcohol at all?
Well, I have a cooling coil here,
yeah.
that's still going into the tank. The heated coil for the off gas.
Okay.
I mean, that's the whole system. The three filters are, as you see, one coming in on my butane feed, the one protecting the pump, the one protecting the tank.
Okay.
And then I tear everything down so I don't have to lose the butane that's trapped in it as often. I try to use my vacuum tank when I can to recover as much of it as I can. Just, yeah.
This is more efficient than when I built my coil, my cooling coil and heating coil, but I hadn't seen this when I already had my money invested. So I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah, we put this together one day, and it has been the biggest lifesaver in the system. Yeah. It reduced our back pressure by half. We were running at 130 on our Pro Maxes. We put this coil in, we were down to 50 and 60 PSI. Alright, so, go ahead and put them on. What time is it? Builds a little bit of pressure so it's off gas some. Start equalizing. And we're just looking for that color. As soon as the color lightens, we'll switch over to the dump. But for now, we're going to go ahead and do another bottom flush to get it to walk out a little better.